record, share my screen. Here we go. All right, so ready to rock? Okay, yesterday we read a story about the boy who harnessed the wind. And it was a pretty good, I think we all decided we really enjoyed it. It was a pretty good story. Just a reminder, who remembers what kind of story, what kind of narrative is it? Who remembers? Oh, good. Look at all those hands. Awesome. Serne, what kind of narrative is this one? No, I'm not asking what it's about. I'm asking what type of narrative. So we know a narrative is a story with a plot and with characters and a setting. It's a story, right? So what kind of story is it? Do you know? So there was a word we used yesterday that helped us understand what kind of narrative it was. Starts with an N. I'll give you a hint. It's a one word. Do you want somebody else to help you out? Lucas? Non-fiction. Very good. Non-fiction narrative, right? Because it's a true story. It's not a made-up story. It's a true story. So it's a non-fiction, fiction being made up, non telling us that it's not, non-fiction being then it's real, and narrative being a story that has which is very much different. Narratives are a lot different than what we were reading when we were doing our frogs and when we were, doing a lot of that work, right? And some of our work about things around the world. However, we did read stories, narrative stories, during our first module when we were talking and when we had the rain school and so forth. Those also had an element of being nonfiction as well, even though they were narratives. All right, so I'm just trying to remind you kind of where we were yesterday. We are going to continue on with our gist section, and then I'm going to actually real quick go back up to our learning targets, because we're going to just continue from where we left off yesterday. We're going to use our close reading, and we're really going to analyze this because we are going to find the gist first, and then we're going to also talk about literal and non-literal meanings, right? So here, there were two more vocabulary words there, literal and non-literal meanings. Who remembered what literal means? Oh, good, lots more hands. Awesome. Haley, what does literal mean?
Literal means like, let's say there are butterflies in your stomach, it actually doesn't mean that there's real.
Oh, so that's that other word. That's non-literal. If it doesn't mean what it sounds like it is, that's non-literal. If it's literal, then what does that mean, Madison?
It means like it's true.
It means actually what it says. So if I say I walked 100 miles, if it was literal, then I'd actually have to be walking 100 miles. But if it's an exaggeration or it's non-literal, or it's a phrase that we often talk about figurative language, right? Ways that authors write to help us understand what they're trying to say, but they don't actually mean that exact information. And so yesterday we pointed out some of that non-literal language that we heard, that non-fiction language that we heard. Yes, Miss Ellie?
We are talking about literal before.
Were you talking about literal?
Dylan said it in the sentence.
Oh.
Didn't really fully understand what it actually meant.
Gotcha. Okay, so you that came up. That was good. At least you had been exposed to what that idea is. So Ellie ran into it this morning, and she wasn't quite sure. So we're going to continue to look at what is literal and what is non-literal, because sometimes that can be a little confusing to a reader. When you read something and you're like, wow, that doesn't seem like that could possibly be real, and we know this is a true story. It can be a true story and still have what we call non-literal language, right? It can still have something, like when I say, oh, this morning I had butterflies in my stomach. It could be a true thing, but it's non-literal, right? It just means I'm nervous or anxious. I can still be feeling that way. That can still be a true narrative, nonfiction thing. It's just a way to say things that is a little more interesting for the reader. All right, so we're going to take those today, and we're also going to look at our point of view and the author's point of view, because we know if an author writes a book, they write it because they think it's important, right? Because they want to share it with us. They want us to get something from it, right? And so if we are reading a book, and it's sometimes just to read for, complete enjoyment, but it also is good to think about, what does the author want me to understand? What is the author trying to tell me? Even if it's a narrative story, what is the point of the author writing the story? What's their point of view? What are they trying to teach us? What are they thinking about when they're writing it? And then sometimes when we read a book, we might have a different point of view than they do.
Well, can I chime in?
Yes.
So in all block, did we talk about point of view?
Yeah.
And we looked at the three little pigs and the pig's point of view, and then the true story from the wolf's point of view and how they were different. And talked about who we agreed with. So I just want to connect that.
There you go. So we're going to talk about, we're going to look at point of view a couple of different times and look at that. So I would love for you to again take out your workbook to page 59, because that's where we left off. We were analyzing some of the different, we were being close readers and looking at some of the different parts of the book. And we left off on pages 12 and 15. And I know it's a little bit of a struggle because you don't also, it's page 59, because you don't have the book in front of you like you had for One Well, right? You had that book as well, but we don't have that as many copies of it as many as you guys. But my friends at home, I do have it on a PDF. So if you are wanting to look at it and if you're having trouble with the dock camera and you want to see it clear, you can open another tab and have that book with you as well and see it up a little closer. So we started with, so he had just gone to the library. So that's where we were right here on pages 12 to 15. And we determined that he went to the library to look up and find some good science books. And those science books helped him understand some things, didn't they? Yep, they helped him understand how engines worked. And so what is an engine? What is an engine? What is an engine? Nixon, what's an engine?
An engine is all the technology that so it's like it's normally in a car or something like that will power the car to make it go.
Okay, so it's the part of a machine, right? That uses energy to move it or to make it work, right? So do you have an engine in the car? Yes. Is a car the only thing that has an engine? No, but that's part of a machine. The part of a machine. So it's part of the car, right? An engine is part of the car that uses energy. What energy is it using, Mr. August? That's right. What does a car use for energy? What do we have to put into the car in most cars nowadays? Still, Abby?
Yeah.
Gas, right? So it's part of a machine, but necessarily is it always run by gas? But it's run by some sort of fuel or energy. And I'm going to focus on why. Oh, I cannot. Mrs. Harrison cannot write today. Energy. There we go. And then that energy helps that engine to do work, right? Now, I want you to think about a car engine a little bit, but I also want you to think about his particular engine that he's learning about, that he's trying to get to make his machine. Is that going to be exactly the same as a car engine? No. Is he going to fuel it with gas? No, but he is using energy to make the machine work. What energy was he using to make his particular machine work? Astria? Wind, right? The energy is the wind pushing, right? Pushing on those pieces. So I wanted you to think about engine because a lot of us think about it as something that we have to put fuel in, like gas or like those kind of things. But an engine actually can be run by any sort of energy. It could be run by, we talked about earlier when we were doing one well, we talked about hydroelectric energy. That's energy that's produced by water. Remember that? So energy doesn't have to be a fuel. It can also be like the wind or water or anything that can generate that that machine part to produce some sort of work. Okay. Want to talk a little bit about that. All right. So he wanted to build a windmill. What is a windmill? I don't think we need necessarily need to write this one down, but Josh, what's a windmill? Okay, so could we call it a machine? Okay, because it does work, right? So it's a machine, and it's big, and it's quite big. And say that second part again, Mr. Josh. Let's. So it spins, and you said like a fan. So it has different parts that look like a fan, right? And what moves those parts? Well, no. The engine is really where is going to be producing that energy from from that energy. What's the energy that moves that windmill around? Wind, right? Hence the word windmill, right? So the wind is getting that to work. Okay. All right. Okay, there we are, my friends. So we're back to where we stopped. Added a couple more things in there, and then I'm going to read the next couple pages. So we are going to do one section more together, and then I'm going to ask you to do the next section. I'm going to read it to you, but I'm going to ask you to do a little thinking on your own. Mrs. Harrison knows you can do that. All right, so here we go. So he goes and he decides he wants to do something, right? He gets this idea. And now, in the junkyard, pieces appeared like rusted treasures in the tall grass. A tractor fan, some pipe, and bearings and bolts that required every muscle to remove. Tonga, he'd shout to the birds and spiders, holding up his prize. But as William dragged his metals home, people called out, "This boy is Masala. Only crazy people play with trash." There's all his parts. And he is on the day, second page. He's excited about his pieces, but they don't understand, do they? After many weeks, William arranged his pieces in the dirt. So did he get instant satisfaction? No, because he had to collect things over time, right?
Yeah.
Find just the right pieces. A broken bicycle, rusted bottle caps, and plastic pipe. Even a small generator that powered a headlight on a bike. For 3 days, he bolted, banged, and tinkered, while chickens squawked and dogs barked, and neighbors shook their heads, saying, "What's Masala doing now?" Don't know what he's doing. His cousin Jeffrey and best friend Gilbert soon appeared. "Mulai Badwanji," they greeted. "Can we help with the electric wind?" "Grab your pungas and follow me," he said, and took them into the forest. Together they swung their sharp blades into the trunks of the blue gum trees, then hammered them together to make the tower. Standing atop, William shouted, "Bring it up," while the boys tugged and heaved. So when they built it, it was laying down, correct? Can you see that in your heads? So, and then to make it so that it was standing, they tied the rope to the top, and then they had to pull, right, to make sure that it came so that it could be in that standing position. A crowd gathered below and gazed at the strange machine that now leaned and wobbled like a clumsy giraffe. Some giggled, others teased, but William waited for the wind. All right. So what do we think for right now our gist is? What did William do? What could we say for those 6 pages there? Noah, what are you thinking?
So he like built a windmill, like something like from
Okay, so where did he get all of his supplies to build things?
the forest.
So he from the trees and from where else? Where else did he find his materials, Max? From the junkyard, right? So he used the trees and the junkyard, the materials from the junkyard to build his windmill, right? So William, let's put his name in so we don't forget who he is. And what did he have to do to get those supplies? Elena, what do you have to do?
He had to look in the junkyard.
He did. He looked in the junkyard, but were they easy to find?
No.
No. So did he have to look hard?
Yes.
Did he have to, and he had to gather them together, right? They weren't just laying out waiting for him like when you go to Home Depot, right? And your parents need to fix something. You go to Home Depot and all you have to do is find the right aisle. Sometimes that's hard, but then you can find the part and just take it home. Did he have a Home Depot?
No.
No. He had to figure out how to use the different parts, right? He had something from a bicycle. He had something from the headlight of a bike. He had to get all of those materials. He had to be creative, didn't he? He had to think about what can I use? He used bottle caps. He had to kind of scrounge for all those things, right? Miss Lila.
I think that part of the gist is when he was gathering his material, people thought that he was crazy.
People didn't understand him, right? And they mentioned that a couple times. So we probably should put that in our gist, right?
Yeah.
That people weren't understanding what he was doing. I like that. So he gathered his supplies. I think there's probably a better word than gathered because gathered makes it sound like all he had to do was pick them up. But gathered his supplies from the junkyard and from the gum trees, right? So again, he couldn't just go to the lumber yard and pick out some nice pieces of lumber, right, to build his tower. He had to chop it down. Yeah, it was not easy. Gathered his spice to build his windmill. Yep. All right, I'm not sure I'm gonna have enough room, Miss Lila, to fit in our idea that the people didn't understand, right? I will fit it in whether I like it or not. No one understood. Why? How's that? Does that work?
Yep.
All right. So no understood. So they didn't really. His friends seemed to get that was important to him, though, didn't they? His friends came and asked if they could help, and it was probably good. Could you think he would have been able to pull up that windmill all by himself?
No.
Probably not. He needed some help. Charlie, do you have something you wanted to add? You have a connection? Great. Very nice. Okay, so it's possible for people to be creative, right, and use parts again, and it's also isn't it a little bit of a conservation kind of situation, right? We were talking about conserving water, right? Not wasting it, not using too much of it. Well, this is another conservation kind of idea, right, Mr. Don? If we have our things that he used them again, right? It's kind of what we call when we talk about recycling, right? Sometimes when we donate things to to like the Goodwill or the ARC store, then people can go and buy them and use them again because we're no longer using them. Well, all these things were at the junkyard. Nobody was using them, but he decided he could use them in a new way. Robert.
So one time, me and my dad made our own knife, and we used this old like brick, and now it's like a circle, and then like on it, how it's called, and it like cuts wood.
Piece pieces of a saw.
Yeah, I think. And then we like cut a tiny piece off, and then we got 2 pieces of wood and a bit of wire. And then we drilled 2 holes. One through the 2 pieces of wood and the metal. And then we put the wire through, and then we tied a knot, and then we were able to move on.
Wowzer. So Robert was just telling us a story about using an old piece of some sort of saw, a saw blade, and making it into using some wood and some other materials, right? And putting wire and putting them together to make a new tool. That's awesome, Robert. So anybody can do it, right? But they just have to have the will and the perseverance and a good incentive, right? Remember what, I don't know if you remember, what was happening to his family that made him really want this water or this windmill? What did he really, what was going on, Max Fox? He was bored? Or he's poor. Gotcha. I was like, well, yeah, and he wasn't going to school, right? So he had some time to think about how to solve the problem. He was poor, so they didn't have any money, but think about what else was going on at the time. Astria, what else was going on? All they were having a drought, right? And all the crops were drying up, and so he wasn't being able to feed his family. Abby, what else? They right. You remember that was a good quote. You remember the dad had said you'd only get 1 meal a day, so you had to make it last, right? 1 meal a day. Imagine that. No snacks, no other things. Elena, what else?
He didn't have any. He couldn't go to school because his family didn't have any food, and so they would.
And that goes together with what Max said, right? They couldn't afford him to go to school anymore because they were poor, and but so he had that time, right, to think about and use. And so remember we talked about he was sulking. Who remembered what that word sulk means? He was sulking. August?
Pouting and moping.
He was pouting, right? Being mopey, kind of at first, oh, woe is me. And then he decided to do something. And he remembered the library. That's where he ended up finding those books that helped give him some ideas. All right. One of the words that they used in this section was tinkered. Tinkered. Anybody know what tinker? So it's past tense, right? It's a verb, to tinker. And ed means it's past tense. Lauren, what does to tinker mean?
I think it means you build something, but you change it around a little and change it into something else.
Okay, so Marin said to build something, but change it in some way. Okay, make it different in some way. Haley, what do you think? Tinker.
Like
Stalling? Like to wait for something? Should we read the sentence together to help us make sure that we understand? Let's see if that works, my friend. Let's see if that works. Here is my sentence. Too many weeks. Really, Maureen, she's been there. 3 days he bolted, banged, and tinkered while chickens squawked and dogs barked. So is he stalling? Does it sound like he's not doing anything right now, Miss Haley? Because a stall is like when you're trying to fill time, right? But it says he bolted, banged, and tinkered. I don't know if that's going to quite work in this way. Miss Elena?
I think it means he put stuff together.
Put stuff together. Is he experimenting, do you think?
Yeah.
Is he trying things out to see what'll work? So that's what to tinker means, is to try to build or repair something, to make something. To make something by experimenting. Do you think everything worked just like he wanted it to in the first place? Probably not, right? Like sometimes I know that you can tinker when you're doing your Legos, when you're trying to build something, but you're not following like the directions, but you've got all kinds of things, all those pieces, and you're trying to make something new. You can tinker. You can say, you can put something on and go, oh, wait, that's not going to work, and try again, right? Put a different piece and go, oh, that one's much better, and then build off of that. So to tinker just means to build something by experimenting. It's try and like, so Maureen, you had a great idea when you were saying that you might not, you know, it might make it different than it was before. You're going to tinker with it, and past tense, ed. All right, we've got one more section, and I'm going to let you do the gisting this time. All right, so I'm going to read, and you're going to come up with one sentence on your own. We'll go over an answer, but I want you to write something. All right, so Mr. Gavin, you're going to come up with one sentence here after I reread. All right, Mr. Leo, here we go. So it begins on page 22. Here we go. Like, oh, it's too big. Sorry. Let me make it smaller again so you guys can see the words. There we go. All right. Like always, it came. First a breeze, then a gusting gale. The tower swayed and the blades spun around. With sore hands, once slowed by hunger and darkness, William connected wires to a small bulb, which flickered at first, then surged as bright as the sun. Tonga, he shouted, I have made electric wind. He was happy.
Was he the first person to write a light bulb?
No. Yeah. Watcha Bawino, a man yelled. Well done. As the doubters clapped and cheered, William knew he had just begun. Light could not fill empty bellies, but another windmill could soak the dry ground, creating food where once there was none. Magesti Amamfo, electric wind, can feed my country, William thought. And that was the strongest magic of all. You can see there's the growing materials. All right, I want you to think about that section. I want you to write one sentence that explains what that section of the book was about, the gist of that section. You're gonna write one sentence on your own. I'll take some suggestions in a minute, but I want everybody writing first. All right. I see Mr. Leo working hard, Miss Haley. Writing one sentence, thinking about it. Yeah, that was great. All right, there shouldn't be any talking, and we're just writing right now. Write down what you think the gist of that section was. Write down what you think the gist was. What happened in that section of the book? You should see everybody writing right now. Everybody writing. Gotta give just a Max, you have an idea?
What are we doing?
So we're writing a sentence that goes in the gist for the section of the book I just read. We've got some people with some ideas. Good. I want to see a couple more people writing first. I want you all to do your own thinking. Your own thinking. So while you're walking around, Mrs. Aben, if you happen to see, they should all have something written in that last gist on page 50.
One more, right after that, on 59?
Right here, yep. They should all have that one filled in. They're writing their own. Yes, they're writing their own gist. You're writing your one sentence about that section I just reread. You're writing your own gist. Did you listen to what I read in the book about the end of the story? So you're writing right here. Write your own just for me. Thank you, Mrs. Zahn. All right, everybody have a chance to get something written there? What did I? There's no perfect answer. I'm sure some of you have a perfect answer, but don't fret. Just do your best. That's all I could ask for. All right. Any of my friends at home have something they want to share about what they wrote? Jensen, I'm hoping to see ya. Your camera's turned off, my friend. There you are. Good, good, good. Thank you so much. All right. No worries. All right. Who from at home is willing to share what they wrote in that square? Come on, somebody. All right. I'm not going to call anybody at the moment, but I want you guys working with me. Right? Yeah, Abby, what are you thinking? All right. Okay. All right. What did you add, Mr. Logan? Okay. So, all right. Okay. So is that a complete sentence, a complete thought? So reread it to me again. About his success in helping his country. So what did he do to do those? And you need a beginning of your sentence. So add a couple words to the beginning to make a complete thought.
You need a subject.
Yep, you're missing your yeah, you just got a predicate there. Mr. Cole. William made windmills to okay, to soak the ground. Okay, all right. Astria, what did you write? Once William built his first windmill, he built more to soak the ground. Oh, I guess you guys got that soak idea. Lucas. They all cheered and clapped, and then William made more windmills. Madison.
William made more windmills so that the village could eat and have a
William built more windmills so that they
so that they can wait. William made more windmills so that the village could eat and have electricity.
So that the village could eat and have electricity. Very nice. Sunny. He put light into the village. Okay. So was he worried about lighting up the village? But why is the light bulb significant? So why is that light? Because it shows that he can power something, right? So he had that light bulb. That was an easy thing to show that he could make power. And yes, it definitely brings electricity, but why do we need that electricity? Because we need to pump water into the ground. So he needed to be able to make a pump. That pump is going to be able to get that water from a well into a place where it needs to be for the crops, right? So the windmill is not making rain, right? The windmill isn't being able to soak the ground itself. It's producing the electricity. The electricity can then act as a way to power the pumps, which are soaking then the ground and are helping those crops grow. The windmill itself is just the machine making sure that the water happens. Very nice, my friends. All right, Lila Maris, give me one more grand finale. Very good. All right. So that was very perfect. That was very nice. Abby, what was yours? He made electric wind, so everybody clapped and cheered. Very nice. Haley. Okay, he made more windmills to help feed his country and made electricity. All right, Lennox. He was excited, wasn't he? He saw his hard work come to light, right? There's a double meaning for a word, right? They made a light, but it also like really lit up their existence, right? Very nice. All right, so I'm going to sort of there is another page with some gist and some meaning, but I want and it comes from these two pages here. I just want to focus on what these two pages are about, and then we're gonna move on. So we're not going to fill in those last two sections that we for the gist part. But I told you that there was more to the story that I hadn't yet shown you. I'm going to go ahead and hide my friends for just a minute so everybody can see my screen better. You're not going to really be able to read along, but you're going to have to really listen here because you're not going to be able to see very well the words. William Kamkwamba was born in 1987 and grew up near the village of Wimby, located in central Malawi. Like many people in Malawi, the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, William's father, Trywell, was a farmer. The Kamkwambas grew a kind of white, sweet corn called maize, which they ate for every meal in the form of a porridge called sima. To make extra money for clothes, medicine, and other essentials, they also raised tobacco to sell to the capital city, Lilongwe. Because their only food came from the ground, any problems with the weather or changes in the price of seeds or fertilizer could cause serious problems. So no grocery stores, right? No way to just get other food. That's their food source. That's exactly what happened in 2001 and 2002. A severe drought killed most of the maize fields in Malawi, including those of William's father. Within several months, the entire country had run out of food and began to starve. A terrible event known as a famine. Eating only one meal per day, William, his parents, and his 6 sisters began losing weight. At one point, his father even went temporarily blind from hunger. The famine killed over 10,000 people in Malawi, including many in Wimbe. With no money to pay for school fees, high school in Malawi is not free like in America. William had to drop out. But instead of sulking around, he began visiting a library that was started by the American government. There he found books on science, which he loved. William didn't speak good English, so he used dictionaries to learn the words describing the pictures that so intrigued him. One of the pictures was a windmill. The words said that the windmills could produce electricity and pump water. Like most people in Malawi, William's parents had no electricity, and water could be used to feed his father's fields. Never again would they have to depend on the rain. I will build a windmill, William thought. The pieces William used to build his windmill were a tractor fan, shock absorbers, and the frame of a broken bicycle, missing a wheel. For blades, he melted plastic pipe over a fire and flattened them, then carved their shape with a saw. For a generator, he used a dynamo, which is a tiny bottle-shaped device that produces electricity by turning magnets inside a coil of wire, something called electromagnetism. When the wind blew, the blades acted like pedals and spun the tire, which turned the coils inside the dynamo and produced a current. A wire from the dynamo reached down to William's room and powered a small light bulb. He was 14 years old. Eventually, William used his windmill to charge a car battery, allowing him to power 4 light bulbs in his parents' house. But his dream of pumping water wasn't achieved until several years later when he built his green machine, which pulled water from a small well near his home and fed his mother's garden, allowing her to grow vegetables year round. In 2007, William was discovered by some journalists and invited to speak at the TED conference in Tanzania. He'd never been in an airplane or even seen the internet. Many people were moved by his story and donated money to help send him back to school and eventually installed a solar-powered water pump that irrigated his father's fields, forever protecting them from hunger. William is now a student at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. He is studying to be an engineer and plans to return to Malawai to work on renewable energy for electricity and pumping water to villages. So he took a problem and persevered and was creative, right? He really worked hard and came up with, was it an immediate satisfaction kind of thing? No, when we talk about perseverance, right? Perseverance is something that really, I know we talk about it in here, like persevere on your test. Well, that's only like about an hour, right? That's not a long time to have to persevere. I mean, it's good to do so, but did he have to persevere over years? Yes. Did he give up? No, he had, but, and when he was, and so persevering was, even though, remember, he was tired, and even though his hands hurt from trying to get all those pieces, he continued to work, right? And then luckily, some people kind of helped him along the way, right? And that's also one of those things we talk about. Persevere, but you could also, do you remember from our overcoming learning challenges? What's one of those things that sometimes you need from other people? You need from other people sometimes. Help, right? Sometimes you need help from others, and it's okay to ask or get help from other people to solve your problems, right? Sometimes there are problems that even if you're persevering, you're still, require some extra help from other people. All right, so one of the sentences that we really, I think it was really super powerful in this book was, and we kind of talked about that non-literal and literal translation. This sentence here, without water, the sun rose angry each morning and scorched the fields, turning the maize into dust. Literal, non-literal? Non-literal. What makes you say it's non-literal? What do you think? Paxton, what do you think? The sun rose angry. Does the sun really have feelings? No, he doesn't get up in the morning and he's grouchy. No, he isn't. But it adds to our kind of our feeling about how they're feeling about the sun, right? And about how the sun is making their lives hard, right? Abby, what else? Okay. Okay, so Abby was talking about, so the part that says turning the maize into dust. Does it happen immediately? No, it happened, but like you said, it wilt the plants first, right? And then they'd eventually dry out, and then they would maybe get that crunchy, and eventually, if you walked up and touched them, they might fall apart, right? But it didn't happen all of a sudden one day. Just the crops just go and turn to dust. No, of course not, right? So let's break it down a little bit. Without water, we've been really talking about this in our One Well book, right? How powerful water is, how much we need it. So why do you think the author starts with without water? Why do you think the author starts with that? What do you think, Ellie? Okay, yeah, because that would be an easy solution, right? But so what if the sun is scorched? They don't have a lot of water. What else, Marin?
Water is very important to every living thing on the planet.
Okay, again, it's reinforcing how important it is to every living thing, Elena.
Yeah, the plants need water so people can eat.
The plants need water just as much as the people needed water, right? Okay, the sun rose angry. Why did the author write this way? We talked about it's non-literal, but why would the author use this figurative language? What does it add, Madison?
Because when the author wrote
It's there. Well, so that's a good question. So let's look at the book again. So we have, oh, you can't see the, I can go to my dot camera, but you can't. All right, so it's by William Kamkwamba. Who's that? Him. So he helped write the book because it's about him and Brian Mueller. So there's a person who's helping him write the book. And then we also have the pictures because these are just representations of him, right? But we did see a picture of the actual windmill in the back, right? So we did see a real picture, but the pictures were drawn for our narrative story by Elizabeth Zunan. So they, the sun rose angry. It gives us a kind of gives us a feeling about how William feels about it. Okay, good. Noah, where was the book published? When? Oh, 2007. So yes, I was gonna, I was eventually gonna talk about that part and there's some other little video things I want to show you, not yet, but later, about some things that have happened since and some things and some other ways they've represented the story. Lila, why else would be the sun rose angry?
Another reason why they wrote that is because it didn't actually rise angry. It was really hot and it was and it if it had feelings it would be like angry because there was no water, so it was just kind of killing their food.
Okay, so the sun's being kind of mean right now, right? Even though the sun can't be mean, the way the people would feel is it's pretty intense, right? And it's kind of punishing them. It's angry. It's unhappy, and it gives us that feeling of it happening to us each morning. When did the sun rise angry? Why did the author add each morning? What does that tell us, Sunny? When the sun rises in the morning, but it says every morning. Why do you think the author put each instead of every, each morning? The sun rises every morning, but it also is telling us what, Elena, do you think?
It happened every single day.
It's happening over and over and over again, each day. It's not just something that happened one day. It's happening over a long period of time. Scorched the fields. What did we decide the word scorched mean? Do you remember when we talked about scorched? Dave, what does scorched mean? That it was too hot and the crops couldn't grow. Very good. Cool. It would dry all of them out, right? It scorched them. It kind of burned them, even though it's not fire, right? You think of fire as burning something, but it wasn't really, it's not fire, but that intense heat burned those and dried them out and, all that intense, like if it was in the oven, like if it was in an oven kind of idea. Elena, what else do you want to add?
Daddy doesn't have any water and the sun was, and so since it didn't have water, it was dry.
All dried up, right? No rain, turning the maize into dust. What does that look like in your head? Does the author give a nice picture in our head what that looks like? Maize turned into dust. What do you see, Haley, in your head?
I see like the corn drying up in the maze.
The corn just, it probably isn't even as big as it should be, right? Just drying up the little tiny plants. Abby, what do you see in your head?
I see like a big field and then like it's not huge, but like the field bigger.
The field's bigger. Okay, so like because we know that it's a big, like that's his farm, right? So it's a large area. All right. Ellie, what are you thinking in your seeing in your head?
A lot of field is like a lot of crops, but some of the
Okay. All right, so this is what I want you to do. I want everybody to turn to page 61 in their workbook. And I'm just gonna give you like 2 minutes for this, so you don't have much. All right, so right here, I want you to draw what you saw in your head. Right here, it says here's the sentence again. Without water, the sun rose angry each morning. So maybe should you draw what that sun looks like if it's angry? Draw a picture whatever you see in your head, that sun rose angry each morning and scorched the fields, turning the maize into dust. You're sketching right here, page 61. All right, I'm giving my friends at home a little bit of a warning that I'm going to ask you what you drew. So as you're drawing, Mr. Gavin, think about what you might tell me about what you drew on page 61. Yeah. Ooh, before I get there. It was awfully nice of you. All right. All right. Looking for some, I was gonna ask some drawings. Might have, if you're at home, I might have you hold it up and show it to me. And I don't expect you to be artists, right? Just do your best. The idea is to get your thoughts down onto your paper. What is it you're visualizing for that sentence? No right or wrong answer, just what you're seeing in your head. Mr. Ben, are you done with your picture already? Okay. Can you hold yours up to the camera? Would you be willing to do that so I can see it? All right, hold on. Oh, there's our angry sun. All right, looks good. Wow, Haley, your son is too angry too. Wow, good job, Ben. Good job, Haley. That's very angry. Do you have any, is there any maize turning into dust on those pictures? Add some maize turning into dust. Maybe below that angry sun. Leo, you want to show me yours? Oh, I see it, Ben. All right, a little closer, Mr. Oh, look at them. Oh, they look so sad. Yes, good job, Leo. Awesome. Those plants look so sad. All right, Mr. Gavin, do you want to share yours? You're still working on it, Gavin? Okay, I'll let you work for another minute. Mr. Jensen, can you hold up yours? Oh, there's Gavin's. Oh, Gavin, keep going. All right. Oh, that is an angry sun for sure. Oh, good job, Jensen. Can you hold it a little closer, buddy? Can you hold just a tiny bit closer? All right. Oh, I see the field. All right, thank you, sir. Good job. All right. Just show, turn to someone near next to you. Just show them your picture. Whether you're doing it, whether I liked it or not. So I might as well embrace it. Show it to somebody else. Hey, Elena, Paxton needs some friend. There you go. All right. Good job, my friends. Good job. All right. I'm going to count back from 10, and I need you back at your seats by the time I get to 0, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right. So now I have to turn to, give it to page 62 for me. Page 62. All right, so let's talk about, so one of our learning targets today was thinking about the author's point of view and comparing that to your part of your point of view. So I want you to think about, why do you think the author, obviously the author worked with the actual person, but why do you think they decided they should write a book about this situation? Why do you think they wanted to write the book? Elena, what do you think?
To tell people, even though like something's hard enough to get lost and keep going, even though like people like sometimes get careful, kind of being mean to you.
Okay, so because they were laughing at him and making fun of him, so persevere even though other people don't let them get you down and work hard. Okay, Abby, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking of that. Don't let other people. Don't let other people be mean to you and just work through it.
Okay, don't let other people be mean to you and just work through it. Okay, Logan, what are you thinking the author wants us to understand? Don't care about others' opinions. Just do your own thing and do what's right, what you know is right. Okay. All right. What do you think, Miss Lila?
I think it's trying to persuade you to not make fun of other people and if you see someone doing something and you don't really know what they're doing, go up them and ask them what they're doing and maybe ask them if they want help.
Okay, so I like you. So those are very important, what we would call morals or lessons that the author's trying to teach us, right? Now I want you to switch modes. Instead of thinking about a moral or a lesson, which those were all really great, now think about let's look a little carefully at this question. What is William Kamkwamba and Brian Mueller's point of view about accessing water? So we're going to take this back to our ideas, all those things that we've been learning about one well. And I want you to think about why else do you think this author decided to bring this story to us? Why else do you think the author would want to tell us about this situation? So think about the word, it says accessing water. What do we already know about access to water? But not everybody always has it, right? We have learned that. Did we know that beforehand? Have you learned a lot about the world's water situation since the beginning of this module? Yes. Probably you probably just as your 8 and 9-year-old selves probably didn't know much about other places in the world and some of the situations that are happening in water. So but we're learning because we're reading about it and we're becoming educated about it. What do you think that the authors want us to know about accessing water? What are these authors trying to teach us about that? If we hadn't read the book One Well, what would the author be teaching us? Lila?
Then a little boy came up with an idea to help his village get more water because they didn't have any access to it.
Okay, so some people are trying to solve this problem. William is trying to solve the problem, right? So do you think that author wants us to know that other people in the world don't have as much access to water? Yeah, so access to water is a problem. Access to water is, oh, you guys are going to be able to see that color. I was trying to make it a different color so we could, but I don't know that maybe it's got dark enough. Access to water, oh boy, is a problem in some places. Okay, so access to water is a problem to some places around the world, but what did William do? But he tried to solve it, right? Access to water is a problem in some places around the world. And was William like, he was just a boy, right? So can everyone do something to solve the problem? Yeah. Yes, even kiddos? Yes. Yes, so that everyone, all people, all individuals should try to do something about it, right? William, somebody didn't tell, hey, William, go solve that problem. You know, you got some time on your hands, right? Go solve that problem. He wasn't doing that. He didn't do that. He took it upon himself to say, here's a problem. How can we solve it? So I don't think they don't want to just educate us. They also want us to, because this is a point of view, right? From their point of view, access to water is a problem in some places of the world, but individuals can help solve it. You can do something about it. You can help solve it. Yes, Logan. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. And again, you can put this in your own words because I'm going to ask you to think about the second part. We're going to start with this tomorrow, but I'm going to give you some think time because you know what? Sometimes I need think time. And this is there's no right or wrong answer, but if there is an answer I need. The next question is, how is their point of view about accessing water the same or different from yours? Now, some of you may be like, I don't know if I have an opinion yet. I want you to think about what is your point of view? What is your feelings? What is your opinion about people accessing water? Is it the same as theirs or is it different? Or can it be a little bit of both? Can you have something in common but be different? Okay, so I would like everybody to think about that because I'm going to ask you to come in tomorrow, and that's what we're going to do first thing, is I'm going to ask you to write about your view about how accessing water is a problem. And is it the same? Is it different? And how? Did they give you a lot of lines? Yeah. So are you going to need to do a lot of thinking? Yeah. Yes. So I want you to think about that between today and tomorrow. What is your opinion? And is it the same or is it different? Okay, that's where we're going to end today. All right. Thank you, my friends. Did a good job. So my friends at home, if you want to get started on the bottom of page 62, if you have a good idea right now, you could actually write it here if you want, if you have it in your head, or if you want to wait till tomorrow, you can wait till tomorrow if you'd like. But if you want to get started because you have a super good idea, go ahead and get it down. All right. If you have a super good idea, or if you just need to think about it, you can do it tomorrow. You can do it tomorrow. Okay. All right, my friends. Nice job today. See you soon.